The warm sun was bright under the shadow of the building. Wine stood on her tiptoes, sparkle in her eyes, and a smirk on her lips. She loved to tease him. She loved to get the expressions out of this man who hardly made any. They were alone. Behind the school building, Jungkook stood against the wall, his hand in his pockets. Eyes stuck on this little girl he named Fireworks, just because he found her, resembled them. JK, you don't have to tease me. No, I'll do what you say anyways. It was still hard for Ryan to accept this side of him. The Jungkook the world knew was unapproachable. People feared him, they cowered before him, and obeyed his every word. Because he was the strongest. A few times he had to display himself in action, and nobody messed with him ever again. His dark aura somehow had enough effect on everyone to stay out of his radar. Yeah, he was totally whipped for her. Ryan. But that's no fun. Like when you make that face. She pecked his lips. Somehow it was crazy. Hard for her to believe. But she laughed every time. The tint of redness appeared on his cheeks when she pulled the first move. Although, if it was him kissing, he would go all out. But any move from her would drive him to the edge, and she totally loved it. JK. And if I do that, you complain you can't breathe? He grabbed her wrist, pushing her against the wall. His hand trapped her against him, stealing her breath away. As he leaned down, Wine gasped, covering her mouth with her hands. Wine, I have a class. Bye. With flustered cheeks, she wiggled out of his grip and ran away. Jungkook laughed. Ah, all that teasing only to get shy this way each time. On her way inside, Wine cupped her cheeks, patting them a few times to get her back to her senses. Doing so, she accidentally bumped against a senior. The coffee cup in the girl's hand spilled on their clothes. Wine, I'm so sorry. Hijin turned and cursed out loud. Hijin, the hell is your problem? Are those eyes working or that's only for decoration? Hijin pushed two of her fingers against wine glasses, pushing her back. Wine Jim one July. That did sting, and it made her angry. Wine, I'm sorry. I'll get you my gym clothes. You can change in them while I wash these for you. Since that's my fault. Next time, how about you keep your hands to yourself? Hijin raised her brows. She laughed. Hijin, you heard that, girls? What are you going to do, little girl? Go against your seniors? She gripped Wine's jaw. When her friends laughed, people stopped and watched. Wine tried to free herself, and when it didn't work, she dug her nails in Hejin's wrist. Hejin, how dare you? She slapped Wine, leaving her shocked. Wine wasn't sure what happened. She had never experienced this before. She needed time to process, but she was truly angry now. Hejin, how about a no? I don't want them washed. How about you pay them with your clothes instead? Suddenly, two of the girls held Wine and pinned her against the locker. No matter how much Wine tried, she was outnumbered. She was one, there were three. Wine, let me go. You will regret this. Hazel pulled on her sleeve and it ripped off. Wine panicked. No, there were too many of them around, watching. None of them helped. They just watched as someone got bullied and harassed. Wine, stop it. What do you think you're doing? She tried to kick her feet, but they were held back as well. Agent slapped her again and started pulling onto her shirt buttons. Wine screamed and struggled around, not going down without a fight, but her heart was beating crazily out of panic. One more button and her cleavage will be on display. She would never be able to get rid of this humiliation. Agent, apologize. Wine spat on her face, her eyes filled with rage and fire. Agent screamed in disgust and raised her hand to slap Wine again, but her hand was held back by another stout grip. Before anyone could blink, they heard the sound of bones cracking, along with Hagen's painful screams. They were too loud that some had to cover their ears. The other girls let go of Wine immediately. Jungkook had appeared, broke Hagen's hand without any mercy and hesitation, and when the other two of them tried to run, he slammed them against the locker, doing the same. The sound of bones breaking was horrifying. The sound of their screams was even more. Mine still had her heart in her throat, her cheeks stinging with pain. Jungkook even take a whole minute to deal with three of them. A moment ago they were bullying his lady. Now they were on the floor, screaming with their paralyzed bodies. He had no remorse on his face. Jungkook returned to Wine and buttoned up her shirt. Jungkook, I'm sorry, I'm late. He removed his blazer and covered her with it, fixing her hair. Everyone was shocked. So much that they didn't know what to react at. The bullying, the way Jungkook just broke their hands, or that he was dating Wine. No one knew it at all. Wine wanted to announce her relationship proudly, but Jungkook didn't let her. She was a lively and friendly spirit. He was afraid people will avoid her if they found a shadow like him lurking around her. He wanted to keep them private. JK, I'm sorry, he whispered. His voice drowned the screams of the girls in the background. He took her in his embrace and dug his face in her hair. She knew. He was blaming himself. It was not his fault. Fine, I, I'm okay. JK, you don't have to lie. He kissed her head, and then her temple, and then her red cheeks, all the while keeping her in his warm, protective arms. The commotion ended there. Broken Bones was a warning to everyone that he would not hesitate to go to extreme lengths if they were ever to mess with him, or anything that belonged to him, which included wine at the top of the list. When the teachers arrived and took the matter in their hands, Jungkook threatened them and those girls' parents that he would call the police instead and report those girls for the case of harassment. It was self defense, but he would go in as well, if the law demanded. He was not afraid of going to jail, but he was going to take them all with him. They all stepped back for their reputation and careers. He was fearless, but they were not. He was going to cross every line for the one he loved, even if it meant ruining himself.